أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين I begin in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting me this honor and this opportunity to be amongst you, the Shia of Ahlul Bayt, and to attend this momentous ceremony, mourning the demise of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. My respected brothers and sisters, my respected scholars, Sayyid Sabiri, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me begin by sharing my sincere condolences, first and foremost, to the owner of this majlis, Sahib al-Zaman, and secondly to you, the mourners and the Shia of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And in remembrance of the Master of the Youth of Heavens, I'd like to ask the permission of the elders in the crowd to inshallah focus my concentration tonight on addressing the young, the youth in the program. Alhamdulillah, there are many in attendance, and inshallah tonight I seek to address the young American Muslims in the crowd. And of course, I respectfully request all those in attendance, out of the respect of the majlis, to keep silence. And inshallah, we can benefit. So, my dear young brothers and sisters, I'd like to appeal tonight to you in logic. MashaAllah, you guys, this generation is clever. This generation is quite ambitious. This generation is quite capable. And alhamdulillah, your history and your knowledge of the events of Karbala are rich, and I don't see any reason to necessarily revisit. And my intention is to keep my discussion with you relatively short, inshallah, but packed with information. So please hit that send button on your Snapchat and put those phones away, and inshallah, buckle up. Let's try to keep up. Let's start with loud salawat. And I also want to first point out clearly the two questions that I'd like us to ponder tonight together, inshallah. The first question being, what makes the events of Karbala unique? The second question being, what is the implication of Karbala for us? What does it mean to us here and now? Now, if I may, do I have any courageous members of the audience that can maybe give me one of their thoughts? What makes Karbala so unique? Anybody? Speak loudly so I can hear. MashaAllah, young brother said that it was Imam Hussein's rebellion against oppression. And I do have a pen to give to you. Come on up. MashaAllah. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala. So my first question was, what makes Karbala unique? And again, because I know my young brothers and sisters, you guys are direct, you like things in 140 characters or less. Let me give you my answer tonight, and then we will open that conversation up. What makes Karbala particularly unique is the phenomena that it transcends space. What makes Karbala unique is the phenomena that it transcends time. And inshallah I will explain. What I mean is Ashura and the events of Ashura were not confined simply to a land called Karbala. Ashura was not simply confined to a time called the 10th of Muharram, 61 years after the hijrah of the Prophet. Karbala transcends time and Karbala transcends space. Let's open that up. How does Karbala truly transcend space? If you think about it, the events of Ashura happen on a land that was literally in the middle of nowhere. But today, it is known by all people, everywhere. At its peak today, it barely holds a population just peaking over 1 million. A space that can barely hold a population of over 1 million has become a global phenomenon. In 2009, mashallah, this space in the middle of nowhere hosted 10 million pilgrims from all over the world, each coming from their own space, from the west, from the east, from the south and the north. This small space that transcends space in 2011 hosted 15 million pilgrims and onward. In 2013, it hosted 18 million immigrants, all descending on this small space in the middle of nowhere. In 2014, mashallah, 20 million pilgrims visited Karbala, each coming from a different space. And today, in 2015, it holds a record for having hosted 26 million pilgrims in a single gathering. 26 million Muslims in a single gathering from all over the world. making Karbala, without a doubt, a global phenomenon, much larger than this small space it occupies in the middle of nowhere. So without a doubt, Karbala transcends space. It cannot be contained in the little square footage that it has been labeled. So part two, if Karbala transcends space and it transcends time, how does it transcend time? This gets a little bit trickier, and my apologies, but I'll do my very best to make it make sense, inshallah. Karbala was planned well before the birth of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In fact, Karbala was connected with the concept of prophethood. Now let me be very clear, I am not saying that Imam Hussein was a prophet. But the concept of prophethood, which alhamdulillah everybody is familiar with, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed his message through a man, typically the best of the men in a group, who spoke the language of that group to convey his message of light to that community, is the process of prophethood. And anybody can tell me, any of the young members of the audience, how many prophets have we had in the history of prophethood? $124,000 by some narrations, mashallah. Please recite aloud salawat for my brother. So Karbala transcends time in a sense that it was connected with the phenomena of prophethood, and this is what I mean. Simply said, and again, this is something that really should be discussed at length. It is quite complex. But when the Holy Prophet of Islam, may peace be upon him, said, Husaynu minni wa ana min al-Husayn, what could that mean? Hussein is of me. Okay, I get that. And I am of Hussein. So, if prophethood started with Nabi Adam, and 124,000 or so prophets later, it terminated suddenly with the seal of prophethood, the Prophet of Islam alayhi salam, then we no longer have this direct communication, this direct mechanism for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reveal his message of guidance to mankind through an individual. The Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam was the seal of the prophets, no doubt. And so when he himself says, I am of Hussein, he is showing his direct connection with Imam Hussein alayhi salam as the next chapter in the same story. No, Imam Hussein is no prophet, but he is the next chapter. He is part of the next chapter in the story of humanity, in the story of ascending to resemble what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended us to be, which was his Khalifa and his symbol on earth. So, all of a sudden, the events of Ghadir, where the Prophet announces his successor, in front of thousands and thousands of people. Helps us see how the uprising of Imam Hussein and Karbala was connected with the seal of prophethood. All of a sudden, the hadith of Saghalain, which the Prophet states, as I depart, I leave with you the book of light, the Holy Quran, and the Ahlul Bayt, makes sense. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam is simply a continuation, is part of the next chapter that began with prophethood as its previous chapter. So, if Karbala transcends space, if Karbala was planned well before the birth of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, what we saw and the lessons for humanity and the characters displayed during Karbala and its immediate aftermath were interestingly nothing new. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his father, his grandfather, they had lived those values, they had lived those convictions every day of their lives. On the 10th of Muharram, 61 years after the Hijrah, Imam Hussein alayhi salam didn't make up anything new. He didn't bring any new revelations. Rather, he displayed a heavy dose of pure and unadulterated Islam packed into a day that forever marked its place in history. Now certainly we value all the lessons from Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his true companions as they executed their mission and their conviction to the true form of Islam in a way that even the blind could not deny. And so what happened on the day of Karbala were the same lessons that continued with the rest of the Imams. And what happened in Karbala during the day of Ashura transcends time. And if it transcends time, after the events of Ashura, it is no surprise that Karbala has become a phenomenon unlike any other, where it has carried forward and touched generations all over the world with impact. Alhamdulillah, many of you here have seen the miracles in shedding tears for Hussein alayhi salam. So esoteric, you can't explain it by words. Everybody here, be it back home in Afghanistan, in Iran, in Iraq, in Pakistan, has heard of stories of what tears shed for Imam Hussein alayhi salam have done for people. The barakah in the dirt of the land in middle of nowhere, so esoteric, you can't explain it by words. But somehow it draws 26 million lovers from all over the world, commemorating the timeless event of Karbala. So my young brothers and sisters, Karbala transcends space and Karbala transcends time. Now, going back to my Second question. Does anybody remember what it was? That's the second question I gave a pin for. But my first question was, what makes Karbala so unique? And the answer was, Karbala transcends space and Karbala transcends time, like no other phenomenon that's ever happened to mankind. And my second question was, what is the implication of Karbala for you and I? You guys ready for the 140 characters or less answer to that? Imam Hussein made the ultimate sacrifice to immunize the pure religion of the Holy Prophet for you and I, for here and for always. So the implications of the events of Karbala were what? That Imam Hussein made the ultimate sacrifice to immunize the religion of his grandfather in its purest form. For you and I to be able to obtain it now and from here forward. I will explain, inshallah. You know, the most simple-minded, and unfortunately maybe the majority of the Muslim Ummah, tries to dismiss the events of Karbala as a family dispute amongst cousins. That argument is so faulty. We categorically deny it. I won't even waste your time explaining how faulty that is. Others that have taken a little bit more time to think about the implications of the rise of Imam Hussein alayhi salam have said that, well, Yazid was bad and Imam Hussein rose against the Khalifa. But of course Imam Hussein himself stated that that's not why he revolted. Sure, Yazid had to go, but that is not why he revolted. Karbala was designed as an immunization of truth. Karbala was designed as an immunization for light and guidance. What is immunization? Alhamdulillah, I think I have a lot of biology majors here too. It's the process by which we can protect against disease and impurity. So, Karbala was designed as an immunization for truth and light, and to generate into the future and in all corners of the world in preparation for the arrival of our master, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. It declared that the name of Islam had been hijacked. And it was being employed by the Khalifa. It declared that Islam had been made into a populist Islam rather than its pure Islam. It declared that Islam had become a ruling Islam, where it is wrongly used for the worldly benefits of the ruling party. Probably not too far from some places in the world today. So, the events of Karbala declared that through the progeny of the Holy Prophet and through the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, pure Islam shall remain well and intact. Over the last 13 centuries, 1,336 years to be exact, the Shia have wept over the massacre of Ashura, and we must continue to do so. As ceremonies and majlis like these are like the blood that pumps through the arteries of truth and the blood that pumps through the arteries of pure Islam, and we shall continue to mourn for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to keep his message passing down from one generation to the next, to the next, and to the next. So Imam Hussein designed and carried out the master plan in immunization of his grandfather's message and the timeless religion of Islam. If not for Ashura, I am convinced that Islam would become diluted, a hollow shell, possibly similar to what happened to the message of prophets before, like Nabi Isa, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. So where are we? And the arrival of Maulana Mahdi alayhi salam needs the maturity of a middle nation. And the Shia have been tasked to represent that nation. He will not arrive with swords. He will not arrive with nuclear weapons. He will arrive at the time when his nation is ready. Now, we have passed this stage of survival as Shia. We had to mourn in private. For centuries, we had to hide our identity in the fear of prosecution. But that time has come and it has gone. We now have to offer something to humanity. That is the message of pure Islam. An Islamic utopia. We must become an ummah that is a role model for other communities, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. So when asked if ISIS is Islam, we say no. In fact, Daesh is no different than the 30,000 army strong that opposed Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Daesh too separated the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt and is using Islam like a body without a head. So when asked if religion is in vain, and if religion should be reduced to an old man named Santa Claus coming down the chimney to eat cookies, or the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reduced to commercialized chocolate Easter egg bunnies and Easter hunting, we say no. Through the Quran, the Holy Prophet of Islam and his Ahlul Bayt. We hold Allah's religion in its purest form here and now. The nation of Shia is and must be the symbol of true Islam by implementing the lessons of our Prophet Imam Ali alayhi salam, the lessons of Ashura, the lessons of our Imams Baqir and Imams Sadiq alayhi salam. We are to answer the sacrifice of our Imam in Karbala and be worthy servants to his cause. And that is my call to action. Ask yourself, and I ask myself, first and foremost, how can you serve the Imam of your time and become the Ummah that is exemplary and worthy to invite his return? This era marks the point in which we can access the depth of our Prophet's teachings through the Book of Light and the teachings of the Prophet's household. We can send and receive information through the World Wide Web, through the globalization of nations. And all that has made it very possible, very easy, to spread the message of true and pure Islam with peace and logic. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلي يوم القيامة. My heart beats with the beat of lamentation for you. Peace be upon you, O the martyr of Karbala. Peace be upon you, O the moon upon the spears. To the fading nation you gave new life in Karbala. Hold my hand, you are the light, and I'm the lost. When we meet, tell them he was with me in Karbala. Give resonance to my voice, give love to my heart, give me courage, like you displayed in Karbala. Now I beg your permission to be your servant. Bring me to life again where Hussein ascended in Karbala. Assalamu ala al-Hussein wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussein wa ala awlad al-Hussein wa ala ashab al-Hussein. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala